August 22nd edition. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to an August 22nd edition of the MSP Initiative MSP Talk. Today, we have a special guest that's been around for a while through all of our shenanigans. But before I get there, I'm going to just do some housekeeping like we always do, and then we'll go from there. So MSPinitiative.com, this and every other session we've ever recorded is going to be available at MSPinitiative.com under session. So being recorded, and that's where we park them in podcast and video format. Thank you to everyone that took their time to come out to MSP Community Minds last week in Denver. I think we tried a couple of different things new. I like the vibe. I gotta thank everybody for taking a shot on a first time event, even though we did hundreds of thousands of miles, I think, of Channel Strong Tour. But for all of our speakers and panelists, who you can see here online, as well as all of our sponsors, thank you. I thought that this was a great compliment to Channel Strong, and frankly, I thought we did a pretty good job for our first time event. We have three, not one, not two, but three upcoming parties, block parties in Florida. Yes, I know it's where every other event on the planet is, but that's where it is. So we have three upcoming block party events coming up in Florida. One later on this week, okay? So if you're going to be in South Florida and you just happen to be in the area, you can join us. Or if you're headed to the Taylor Business Group Big Conference on Wednesday night from 6 to 9, right across from the Diplomat Beach Resort, we will be doing another MSP community boat party. Got our mega yacht back and coming back to Florida and making it happen. Hopefully good weather. The weather looks like it's, at least Florida weather, has cleared up on my iPhone weather app, but I digress. And then in October, we will be having a DattoCon, the DattoCon after party, which we call the block party usually. That is going to be October 3rd. So not the first night, the second night of DattoCon in Miami. We'll be rocking it out. So please, again, if you're in Miami and you're an MSP or you're going to the conference, we would love to see you there. And then lastly is the MSP Community Block Party in Orlando at IT Nation. That's right, I said it. Last year we had the All-American Rejects. This year we might have more than one, not one, maybe more than one radio recognizable band that if you grew up through the 90s or you're very good driving and turning your radio on, you would know these bands. Be making that announcement very soon. So those are the three coming up in Florida. I'm sorry, that's just where all these events are. Florida. Hope you have your timeshare booked or something, because that's where they are. Second to last, we have what we call community offers. These are just hookups from companies from around the sandbox that are trying to give you special offers. And lastly is our industry calendar, where look at that, Joel, Channelpro events are even in there. Any event that we've done or any event that we've been told about, and we're starting to put 2024 dates in here, just gives you the ability for you to plan yourself properly so that you know what's going on in the channel. All that being said, that is everything that we do. MSPinitiative.com. Once you learn how to spell initiative, put MSP in front of it, .com, you're already there. All right. That being said, our special guest from Channelpro, bring back Jay-Z. We call him the unofficial mayor of the channel. I think I self-appointed myself the vice mayor. I don't know, something like that. I'm the next guy up, I think.
Yeah, well, you did take that title.
I mean, I'm not trying to, you still got plenty of time left in the sandbox, Joel. We already talked about that.
We do. We have plenty of time out here. I mean, you're much younger than I am, so.
Fair.
You have a lot of time to catch up. And I did not.
Yeah, but hold on. You're from New York originally. You spent a lot of time in Florida, pal. So those miles aren't as hard. Let's be honest.
Well, when I get on the boats, I don't have to travel that far to get on those boats, right? I can just walk over if I had to. You take a little scooter,
Yeah,
maybe a
I,
an Uber.
I'm not gonna call it quite island time, but let's be honest, you haven't exactly been living hard northeast miles. You know what I'm saying?
No, I gave up New York a long time ago for the sunshine life of Florida, and if I was only there for more than a couple of weeks a year, it'd be great. But I live in a hotel like today. I'm in a hotel in Dallas, Texas. So every day is another
And
hotel.
I am in Nashville, Tennessee, so we're
That's
both
right.
on the road.
Yep. Always,
Uh,
always in a hotel.
Jay Z spent several legs of the Channel Strong tour with us out on
Yep.
the road when nothing else was happening. So he got some good highway miles underneath of him. At
I
least
sure
I can
did.
say that I added some to his history book a little bit. But Joel, that was an awesome time. I think that we really, right time, right place, right idea,
Cool.
and we definitely, enjoyed the fresh air of America, and then we parked that bus, right? And we said, hey, things are a little bit normal now. Let's change it up. And finally, after a long time, comes out MSP Community Minds, which you were able to join us in Denver last week. Would love to get your perspective on it since you do a lot of industry events.
That was really great. What you did out there in the industry you know, was mind bending because who's going to get a bus and travel the country when you're doing the Channel Strong tour, right? And then you stopped it when it wasn't needed anymore. And now that we can be in the same room together, right, not a parking lot, we are able to get together. And you guys put on a pretty nice event at the event in Denver last week, the MSP Community Minds. It was very, very full of I mean, I couldn't have found more great speakers than what you found. I think. I mean, your room was full of great speakers, great sessions. Panels were wonderful. All on topics that were of need. The MSPs in the room were very, very happy with the content. After talking to them, and there was a bunch of vendors too, and they all agreed that it was a nice week, nice time. And then that little party you guys had afterwards was fun too, with the that place that we went to. I forgot the name of it.
Industry.
Industry, right, with all the different things that was there. It was fun. We had a great time there and enjoyed a little bit of relaxation afterwards, and then back to the next show, right? Out to the next show, and then I just kept going. So you and I, we just go. We are nonstop. We make it happen every day, and Channelpro, as you know, is always making it happen with best business practices for all the MSPs. And George, you're creating some new stuff that's out there that's making it happen. So kudos to you and your team.
No, I appreciate the feedback, Joel. I mean, I try, and somebody asked me the other day, they're like, do you just travel? Are you on the road 4 weeks out of the month? And I'm like, I try and limit myself to 2 weeks of travel per month. What's your average?
So right now I'm about 40 weeks a year.
Okay, there it
I
is.
haven't done less. I think I'm around 40 right now, and that's pretty much Monday through Friday. I'm out there almost every single day of the week, somewhere USA. Today I'm here. As a matter of fact, next week is the first week, 6 weeks that I'll be home for an entire week.
Wow.
And my wife's going to be away.
That's funny.
She wanted me to come out and meet her in LA, and I said, "Listen, I'd love to, but I'm exhausted. I need some downtime." So I'm going to go home and sit on my couch when I'm not working, during the day, and at night I'm going to sit on my couch and catch up on some of the old TV shows that I've missed out on or recorded that I want to watch. I do get to watch them in hotel rooms at night too sometimes, but it's rare because I'm out till late at night almost every night. As you know, I'm with about everything, so I don't just leave. So at the end of the day, when the show is over, there's a group of us networking, talking about business and what have you. So or going somewhere. So it's not possible to just go back to your room and veg unless you have to. And I've had to a few times where I've caught a cold or I've gotten sick and I have to go to my room, and that never happens, but it's happened twice this year in the last full year.
Well, I am hearing, Joel, before we get into other topics, that they may be bringing back some of the COVID restrictions and policies come October, November this year. Did you hear that?
I did. There's a bunch of new viruses out there. The COVID virus has escalated in a lot of areas. And as a matter of fact, I was dropping food off at my mom's yesterday because both her and her husband got it. They were on a cruise ship and they both came home with COVID. So, there's a new strand of it, and it seems to be catching pretty quickly. And they're hoping to be able to send out vaccinations soon enough, but they're combining a bunch of vax together. So if you can hold off a couple of weeks, I think there's going to be an option to add on the new strand. So those that get it.
Since this is really new news, since we're in the news business, I think on this podcast, does that concern you for the Q4 event schedule?
No, it's not going to change. I don't think it's going to change the world today. The restrictions will be a lot less than they were because this isn't a fatal version of the disease of the virus. It's you get a bad flu is what it seems like, and that's what's been happening from what I can see. And my mom and my stepdad, they're sick at home. They're taking some meds and they're getting better very quickly. So that's a good thing.
Okay, good to know. You heard it here, from somebody that. By the way, I hope they feel better and that's not prolonged.
And that's the fourth
right?
case this week I've heard. Fourth case this week I've heard.
Wow.
So two at my house.
So it's coming around. Are you sure it's not a Florida thing?
It's not just Florida. These are people that are traveling. They're getting on planes and they're going places or they're going on cruises, and that's where they're coming back with it. So they seem to be traveling across the country, across the world, and they're coming back with the virus, and that's what happened.
Got it.
Be safe. If you're going to travel on an airplane, maybe wear a mask. You know what? I wore one today, knowing that the virus is back out there and that you can get infected easily. Seems to be it's easier to catch this strand of the virus than it was some of the others. Wear a mask, and it's not going to hurt to wear a mask on an airplane if you're fine with it. And
I mean, from what I read, they're just going to make it mandatory like they did before. So,
and it's possible. And you know what? It's okay with me. I'm all right with it. I always have a mask on me anyway, so just in case of emergency. Just like
I'll be honest.
I carry my keys. I carry my mask.
I'll be honest. I threw them all away. I guess I have to buy some new ones. So we got that out there. Sorry, threw that at you side, kind of curveball there. What did you think? I know you do a lot of events. Channelpro has a ton of events they're doing.
Yep.
You've been doing this for a lot longer than I've been in the sandbox. Not trying to age there, Joel, but I love the concept of the vendors and the MSPs in the same space. And how did you catch last week where vendors that were in the room, side by side with the attendees, were asking questions from people in the panels?
Yeah, and we see that a lot at our shows as well, because we invite the vendors into the room during the panels and stuff like that. So, it's not like, when there's only so many vendors, you can put them in the room. But when there's 30 vendors in a room,
Mm-hmm.
that are showing off, you can't really put them all in the same room. It becomes a little bit too crowded to do that. And I understand that. There's size categories of shows, right? There's those shows that can have high tables and have vendors in the room. There are those that have to have 6-foot tables, and there are those that have to have booths. And as you change,
what about the kiosks, Joel, for 35, 45, 55,000?
Well, I'm not going there.
Sorry, couldn't help myself.
Yeah, I know. There are plenty of those too. So thankfully, we don't do those kind of things, and it doesn't cost vendors that much to do business with us. But at your event, the nice thing was it was intimate, just like our kind of show. We try to make it more intimate, where the vendors and the MSPs can communicate, have a great conversation, get some great networking, a lot of time together, build relationships. and grow from there. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, we're a channel. We are the community, and you were building community, and that's what you're doing. I love how you did it.
I appreciate that. I mean, again, just trying to do things a little bit differently. A lot of different formats out there, but I think we like authentic content, right? I think one of the
Sure.
things that we've heard for a long time is, I know vendors like to get up and do their, their deck, but like, let's flip it around, right? Let's put the MSPs up front. Let's hear from them. And then I know not often that we get to have actual time to do workshops, but I really enjoyed that there was more than, like, and you can only get so much done in 45 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour, but like a 2-hour workshop, you really can learn some things that you can't get into a shorter period of time, right?
Right. Those were really great.
Yeah, I mean, so like a lot of these, I think we had 6 workshops, and these guys brought documents, you had to fill out sheets, you had to create plans. Like, it was really interactive, and like, I know not every format, can facilitate that, but I think that was really cool.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the speakers you had that were doing workshops really had some great ideas, and people like, uh, Bradley Gross, who's the attorney, brought in some great information and talked about, how to protect yourself, and had some great worksheets out there to communicate the right message for an MSP to do business with an attorney, so that you're not getting in trouble when you're getting sued, right?
Yeah, Brad's great, and like, I know he does a ton of events, and he's on the road probably just as much, maybe not as much as you or me, but he's out there plenty.
But he was at our
But
virtual show. He did our virtual show earlier in July, our cybersecurity one. He talked about compliancy, and he was great at speaking about that. And he's spoken at many of our events in the past. So it was great to see him. Great to have, great to know that he's continuously out there and he's helping MSPs, just on the legal side. And there are other guys like him, right? So there are several others. So it's important to look at what you need and what your needs are, and go with those guys that work for you.
100%. So now, 40 weeks on the road, that's a lot of traveling. Today,
Yeah.
I had an interesting one I posted online. They had to jump start the plane, like I had to jump start my car. And so the last person to tell me something like this is like my other partner, in traveling over here, Mr. Stanners. And he's like, yeah, I was coming back from Australia. I was flying through, did the leg from LA to DC, like, got on the plane, in I think it was Dulles, and they had to jump start the plane, the same idea with the 2 cables, and the plane took off, and like, the plane lost power in the air. And then they had to turn around and land, and emergency vehicles and all of that jazz. And I was like, thinking to myself, I was like, I really hope that I have a different story here, because that didn't sound too good. So have you ever run into that in all of your travels, Joel?
I have not run into that, but I've had a lot of rebooting. Like, the plane had to be, so this past week, the flight out of Denver, they had to wait for the plane to cool down. That was a first for me. They had to wait for the plane to cool down to then refly it. It was, the temperature of the plane was running too hot, and it couldn't restart. So same problem. I'm like,
Wow.
do I want to get on that plane?
I've heard of that one before, like, and like, in certain airports, especially in like the desert, like Phoenix and stuff like that, they have like, they spray the plane down just like you would de-ice it. They're like trying to cool the plane down from the outside.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that in order to get the air conditioning running on your plane, the engine has to be running.
Yeah, it doesn't work unless they plug it in. There is a plug-in for air conditioning that many of the airports have. They just add a air conditioning unit on the exterior of it, and they plug it in. It works, and it cools down the plane, but it was supposedly, the plane was so hot that they wait for the exterior as well as the engines to cool off, as well in the interior to cool off. It was too hot, and we couldn't get the plane air conditioning. He couldn't get the plane air conditioning started, so he had the exterior vents going on this plane, and it was, it was warm when we got on the plane. That's all I can tell you. And then finally, when we took off, it cooled down.
I saw one on one of the social networks. It was so hot outside. Somebody took one of the tailgating tents and put it on top of their air conditioner, and it worked.
That's
It cooled their
crazy.
place down. And I was
That's
like,
crazy.
huh. I was like, maybe we could apply the same concept to planes. Just put a big tent over the plane, see if it cools down.
Put them in parking garages.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not seeing a Boeing jet going into a parking garage. Well, at
Yeah,
least not safely.
hey, anything's possible.
100%.
Yeah, we can do a
So,
4-story parking garage for Boeing, jets.
well, I mean, that's what an airplane hangar is for now. Although one of these times I'm gonna successfully pull off a hangar party.
A hangar party.
Yeah, what do you
Long
think
Island,
about
New York.
that?
I've done one. I've done one
Okay.
in Long Island, New York. A really cool party.
Yeah. I gotta check that box off at some point.
I've done one in Palm Beach also.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Did you
yeah,
have the plane
they're
roll in
available.
and like,
They used to be
okay,
available. I don't know if they still are. They
okay.
were, that you can check those out in the private hangars.
All right. Good
Yeah,
to know. Good
yeah.
to know. So what are you hearing out there, Jay-Z? I mean, like, obviously you're on the road way more than most people, talking to a lot of people. Um, we had a lot of conversations earlier on in the year about a bunch of things. Now we're on the back end of the year. We still haven't quite made it to the financial meltdown we were all promised. I'm knocking on wood, but things aren't the best, but maybe not the worst.
No,
Uh,
I have lots of predictions. The market's been hanging on. It's doing well, and I see a meltdown in mortgages personally. I see a meltdown where there's going to be a lot of foreclosures in about a year or two. There's going to be a lot of foreclosures, it seems like, because the interest rates went up so high very quickly, and a lot of folks got caught off guard, and they might have lost their jobs or been laid off or retired, and they didn't realize how expensive it would be if they were buying a house at the higher percentage rate, and the rates went up so quickly from 2.5 to 3% to 7%, and it changed what they can afford. Even my own kids, they were looking at houses prior to last year, and now they can't even look at a house because it went out of their price range, jumped right out of their price range, out of what they can afford. So those are things that you're going to see. That's my prediction. Cybersecurity is continuously going to be a problem, and we're going to continuously see new companies. So every day I see a new company pop up on the market that I've never seen before. I get a phone call, hey, here's who we are, and we're going to do this. And I'm like, who are you? I've never seen you before. Well, we're about 3 months old or 6 months old. And
well, let me pause you there. Did you read? I think I just read it this morning that Sentinel One is shopping.
Yep. I did see
So,
that.
like, even like I mean, like, you would think in this climate where the interest rates have really changed the market pricing on valuations and what have you. They're not a small company. I think they're valued at $5 billion. Question is, will they get somebody to give them $5 billion for it?
Right. And there's people that have money, and they're going to buy things like that because they think that they'll make more if they combine it to what they're already doing. It can make it just an add-on, just like some of the other vendors that are out there that think they're worth more than it is, possibly, or their fair market value is high. They're worth it to somebody because it's just an add-on to what they're doing, and it can take their $5 billion product of their own and make it a $15 billion product, and then they can expand it from there. But and then sometimes it's just worth it to take over. At times, sometimes it's just worth it to have it as part of your business instead of paying for it if you're already paying for it. So those are some of the other things that you have to look at. There are plenty of opportunities out there right now still. I think there's lots of options. There are a lot of companies that are for sale. There are a lot of companies that are buying still. But in about 6-12 months, I think it's going to slow down. I think that's going to have to slow down. I think it's going to have to slow down the interest rates are gone up. I think that the money isn't coming as fast as possible. We're seeing a little bit of drop in things. It'll have to slow down. I can't see it continuously running the way it's been doing for the last couple of years. I think it's going to slow down.
Well, I think the big multiples that I heard from companies that sold pretty much stopped in late 2021, right? Like anything since then has been okay, but like the valuations came down quite a bit, or what they would want back in return for the investment has gone up. Either way, it's the same thing. So you're thinking that in 6-ish months, it's gonna really cool down.
Yeah, I think so, because because people think that their product is worth more than what it is, right? Because they had the evaluation, right? They looked at the valuation and they said, okay, it's worth this a year or two ago, but today it's not. And now they want to sell it, and they're like, well, I want to get that. And if I can't get that, why am I going to sell it?
But doesn't that apply to the companies that are sitting waiting to go public? Because like they're like, hey, I'm ready to go, but the market's not good.
Well, I mean, look at NVIDIA. Look what it did this year. It went up tremendously. They went up like 400 points.
But you're NVIDIA, the chip company, right? Like the graphics and all. But isn't that because a lot of their stuff plays into AI company?
Yes. So their stocks are, tremendous. But that is one of in a million stock. You don't see that too often. There's a couple of stocks that are growing like that. But there's growth in a lot of stocks, but it's going to level off. You're going to see it's going to level off. The market can only go the way it's going for so long. Next year's an election year. It always does. It always levels off. So you're going to either see a drop or a level. So
okay,
just follow the cycle. The stock market's a cycle. Just follow it.
Fair.
Follow your money.
That's fair. One thing we learned last week, though, in Denver, was that the MSP M&A market is still really active.
Yes, it is.
I would say aggressively more than the other side. Yeah.
Not getting the same valuation. They're just not. People, those that are willing to sell and those that are willing to buy, if they're willing to negotiate within a valuation that makes sense, that's great. But there are plenty of people that are delusional about what they're worth. And you're going to see that all the time. And they're not going to sell, and they're going to hold on. And so, yes, but we talked about a very large number. What is it, 70-something%?
That was a stat that came out from Reed Warren. We're going to cite him. I'm sure he got it from somewhere else.
I saw that as well prior to him saying it.
Okay, well, he mentioned it last week, saying that 71%, that was the stat, of MSPs will either change hands, go out of business, new ones will start, like just a complete industry like shift within the next 5 years.
No, 10 years, I think.
He said 5.
Did he say 5?
He said 5.
Yeah. All right, it could be 5 to 10 years. And
he said the greatest percentage.
Look at the room.
I
said, look at the room.
Yeah.
Look at all the gray hair in the room. I go, the majority of MSPs, not yours. You're young. You're fortunate. You're young. You don't get to show your gray hair. I do. The industry is full of people that are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. I mean, the majority of the MSPs are older. There's no doubt about it. But the younger generation is now starting to come in. We're getting a nice group of young generation that's coming in, and they're going to change what they're doing. They're not going to be called MSPs, I'm sure. They're going to change their acronym, right? They're going to be IT consultants first, and then they're going to change their acronym to whatever it is. And someone's going to create an acronym for them, and then we're going to go by that. And that happens every time. Happens every so many years. Been doing this for 25 years, and I've seen it several times. I would say every 7 years it changes, just like your ratings. It drops off and it changes to something else. But I'm always seeing a change, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And yes, people will retire, people will sell their MSPs, and there will be a large shift. And employees will take over of some. You'll see I think you'll see that more than buyouts, more than takeovers, more than mergers. I'm thinking that a lot of the younger guys that are coming up the ladder within a company, they're going to end up buying out their management team over time, especially the smaller MSPs. They're going to just, take over their business because they're going to just close, or they're just going to take it over, right? And you're going to see some of that across the country, especially in that 2, 3, 4-man shop. You're going to see a lot of that. In the larger shops, you're going to see mergers, right? Larger shops, you're going to see mergers. I doubt they'll just all close. There's going to be mergers there, and there's going to be acquisitions throughout. So you'll see that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the largest shift in generational wealth we've seen in our history. I think a large part of that is because of the baby boomer generation and like all these people coming into just retirement age, right? And MSP business, and I've said this many times, and I'm going to say it again, it's not an easy business. It's actually it's a hard business. And one of the things we heard from, was it Ryan Lakin? It was Dan Johnson from Machine Logic, and it was, who was the third person on that panel? Well, the three of them, there were 3 people on this panel, and they said, you either need to figure out what's next, right? What does it look like past your MSP? Are you going to get into real estate? Are you going to open up a franchise? I don't know. Like, what is the plan after post? Or if you are going to sell or merge into a larger entity, is your plan to stick around, right? And be a part of that newer, bigger, org? I mean, it's kind of like life questions here, right? Like, what is the plan?
What is the plan? What are you doing? Have you saved enough money? Have you put away the money that you should to retire? A lot of guys didn't. They rely on the sale of their business at the end of the day. And if they're making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, whatever it is, they're going to make some money. They're going to walk away with a couple of dollars. But if you don't have the recurring revenue and you don't have enough contracts, you're a mess. You're not going to retire. You're going to have to go take another job. You're going to have to go do something else. And that's what's going to happen. It's just unfortunate, but that's the truth. A lot of these guys, they work their butts off, and that's why they don't want their children involved. If they have children, they've worked so hard for so many years, they don't want their kids involved. But you know what? Plan your future, plan what you're doing, plan when you're exiting, so that your children know, so that if you're going to involve your children into your business and you want them to be successful, plan it out, and then give them a succession plan. Don't stand on their feet. Let them do it on their own. There's a lot of things to learn from.
One could argue that maybe some of the younger people coming up just aren't interested in this business, this line of work.
Absolutely. There are plenty that aren't. They think they can just go to work for a software company like Google or AWS and get a job and they'll be there forever. Well, the likelihood of you being there forever is not so positive these days when you look at all the layoffs. But but it is nice that there are jobs out there for people that have technical background that are going to school. Now, I know kids that are going to cybersecurity classes in high school and in college and taking those kind of classes, so that when they graduate, they have a background in technology, in cyber and things like that. But they're looking for end user companies. Everyone I've talked to, even my niece who just graduated in technology in Florida, she wants to go to work for an end user company. She wants to be in analytics. She doesn't want to be an MSP. And I'm like, you can make some good money just with your knowledge. And she's like, I'd rather do analytics for the tech industry. I'm like, okay.
I don't think, let me ask you this, and is this industry, the sandbox, I like to call it, MSP land, is it just viewed as not enticing enough? Is it not cool enough? Do people not find this as a track for them? Because it kind of feels like these people are coming out of wherever they're getting educated from, and this isn't really an option that's on the table for them.
I'm going to ask you a question before I answer that.
Sure.
What did your dad do in his business?
Carpenter, woodworker. Yeah.
My father was an insurance agent. I refused to be an insurance agent. I'm like, I'm not going to do what my dad did. I want to do my own thing. Right? Did you want to be a carpenter?
My father said, do any other job than this. It's a hard
That's
job.
right. And you hear that every day from MSPs telling their children. It's very rare that I see somebody who says, hey kid, come on with me. I'm going to show you how to do my business. You go to school, you're going to learn, and you're going to come here and take over my business with me. You don't hear it as often as you think. It was the way of the old days. Generations, my generation especially, and before that, you heard that. But they're always trying to do something better, do something easier. Don't break your back so much. But you know what? Every business is the same. You're breaking your back no matter what. If you're working hard, you're working hard. It's plain and simple. You and I work hard. I don't know anybody who works as hard as you, George. You have multiple companies. You are running all these businesses. You are always out there, just like I am. And, that's why I think I love you so much as a friend, because I appreciate people like you. We don't sit and wait for something to happen. We make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I am not to get too deep down the path here, but my parents immigrated into the country. I'm first generation. I would say that that's a common, thing that you hear from a lot of people that are first generation in this company. Gary Vee tells the story all the time, right? His parents came in, he was first generation, like he had to learn, the wine business. He was working his father's company for a long time. Like my parents told me, hey, like we came to the land of opportunity for you to have a better life, right? Okay. But like nobody's gonna come and pay your bill, right? Nobody's gonna come and solve your problems. You're gonna need to go out there and rub the sticks together and figure it out. That's how I was taught. And so at a young age, probably before I should have been, I was working. I was out there busting it. And, like, not that my parents were very well off or anything. They worked really hard to put food on the table, and they worked a couple jobs apiece, right, in order to try and give us the chance for, like better opportunities. But I feel like that was the hard way, right? I mean, I really do. And, it's a shame that, now in 2023, the world is the way that it is, that some people have to work two jobs to pay their bills. It's just, they can't afford it. But at the end of the day, right, like the only thing you can control, no matter where you come from, and this isn't my quote, but it's true, is how much effort you put in, how hard are you willing to work. I think some people like to, like we always hear the cliche, right? So-and-so is living in their parents' house till they're 30, whatever. And it's like, hey, like, if that's the family dynamic and they're cool with it, cool. Like, I'm not a stay-at-home guy. I never got into the video games. Like, I'm a movie guy, but like, that's what I do to calm down, not to, spend every day. So that's just me.
I get it. No, I understand, George. And I have a very similar background. So I feel that. And I know that my kids, they're on their own. They're not allowed to come back. They can't move back into my house. That's not an option. If an emergency came up and they needed to come by and stay with me for a couple of weeks, absolutely, they're welcome there, right? Come visit all the time, always open, right? But don't come back and live there and look for a free ride. They have to go and be something. And my kids are, my son is in LA now working, and my daughter got married and is working, and she's happy, and I'm happy for them. And my wife and I are doing our thing and getting ready to eventually retire. And we've put a plan in place. And if everything works out, we'll move forward with it. One day I will not be traveling the way I travel now, and I'll be able to stay home and sit by my pool and relax and enjoy my cafe with my friends, and maybe go play cards more often.
I feel like, Jay-Z, though, that like that plan from an MSP owner standpoint is missing for a lot of people, right?
Absolutely.
Like they did not forecast, hey, I want to work backwards from this date. What do I got to do in order to like be, make that date possible for me? Or even if it's not, I'm retiring, it's by this point in time, I want to shift into another business. I want to go into another direction. I need this much money in order to accomplish that shift, right? Like, I feel like that strategic part for a lot of people is not there.
Well, it also depends on how you live today, right? If you live a lavish lifestyle, you need to have more money in the bank. But if you don't, and you can afford to live with a certain amount of money. The biggest challenges are insurance costs. You know, your insurance costs are going to kill you. That's going to be your biggest cost: your car insurance, your homeowner's insurance, your life, your health insurance, and then all the other insurances you're paying for. I mean, just my insurance alone, I can't even tell you. When they come through, I'm like, oh my God. And I know you run a business, so you see it, and it's tremendous. And so the business owners all see that.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we talk about cyber insurance so much, because it's so unpredictable.
Yep.
The premiums could like quadruple themselves in one period renewal. But I mean, there's all the other things you need to do in order to cover yourself, right? I mean, I was talking to a few people from Florida, and they can't get homeowners insurance anymore. Their policy got canceled. They won't, and literally nobody will insure their houses for some reason in Florida. Why is that?
Because of the hurricanes and because of the roof issues. So in Florida, there's been a ton of hurricanes over the last 10 years, and there were these attorneys, or let's just say people that were out there that were going out and getting claims for people to get their roofs replaced. So in my community alone, I know dozens of people that got free roofs. Why? There was nothing wrong with their roof, really, but they were able to show that there was a problem, and they got free roofs. So the insurance paid for them, and they're $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a roof. So they're not shingles; they're expensive roofs. They're the Spanish tile. So when you look at the roof and you go, okay, it's 50,000 for a roof, and you have 10 homes, you're at $500,000. 50,000, you're $500,000 at 10 roofs, right? How are they not going to increase your premiums? They've got to. So the premiums kept going up and up and up, and instead of renewing at a higher premium, they just said, all right, you know what, we're getting out of that state. And that's what they're doing. And they'll recoup it in places.
I heard car insurance in Florida is noticeably higher too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, my insurance went from, I bought a house 3 years ago, sold my house, I was paying close to $8,000 for a smaller house, with a modest house in a community, and it dropped. My insurance dropped from almost $8,000 a year to my new house, which was $1,400 a year. Huge difference.
Wow, that's huge.
Huge difference, but it's already at $4,500.
Okay, so it's climbing.
In 3 years, it's gone up each year, and it's gone up to $4,500 already, which I think is ridiculous. Why did you give it to me at $14,000 the first year, and now it's $4,500? That makes no sense. And then they say if you replace your roof, you'll get a discount. But for how long? For a month? I mean, I don't know. And I had a claim years ago. It's not like I've never had a claim on my insurance. You have insurance, you can make a claim. That's what it's there for. But they seem to drop you as soon as you make a claim. So that's another challenge that everybody has, right? Especially in Florida. You make a claim and then boom, you're gone. You're taken out. You got to go find other insurance. So you're scared to make a claim. And it's going to happen with cybersecurity. The other, going back to cybersecurity, getting into cybersecurity, the biggest challenge with cybersecurity is being compliant. If you're not compliant with all of the products you need to bring to your client, you're going to pay through the nose in cybersecurity. They're going to charge you more and more if you're not compliant, and they won't even insure you if you're not. And if you're using crap product, you're going to get charged crap product. And there are plenty of people that are using things that are not valued in the industry. They're not, freeware. You can't use freeware and expect to be compliant. You have to.
Brad Gross said a line. He's like, I actually think it was Brad and Matt Lee talking together, which, by the way, if you could ever experience that, absolutely do that. They're like, there's a lot of companies making a lot of money out there on junk software.
Yeah. So make sure you invest in software that's going to keep you compliant, and invest in the right stacks that are going to give you the value you need to reduce your insurance costs. And you need insurance. You want to do business in today's world, you need insurance, because the lawsuits are ridiculous, and you can't afford not to have it, because you'll be out of business otherwise, and it's not worth it. So, I mean, just because you have
Well,
an LLC doesn't mean you're gonna get away with
I,
murder. You
I
gotta
think,
have
I
insurance.
think, I think the fact that will they even pay out? That's the
Right.
first part. And then you found out that sometimes they come back and sue you for the money that they paid out if they found out you didn't do what you're supposed to.
It's like the guy who's a cigarette smoker his whole life, right? And then you die, you get sick and you develop cancer. And I said, well, you've said your whole life you don't smoke. What do you do? You've
I
never
don't know.
smoked a
What do
cigarette.
you do?
What do you do? They cancel you, and you're like, well, I paid my premium. Well, you lied. You didn't tell us the truth. You didn't do the right things to keep compliant to get the
Yeah.
insurance, right? So, I mean, that
And
also is a
that's
false
that's
behavior.
another one. Medical insurance is not
Yeah.
cheap either.
Oh, no, not in Florida. Not in Florida. It's
Before you start moving to Florida, guys, you might want to look up these things.
yeah. Yeah,
Although
but
I
you know
hear
what?
there's a
It's
lot
like
of
that
people moving to
everywhere. It's
Florida.
not just Florida anymore, right? It's not just Florida anymore. Everywhere you go, it's expensive. So it's not just Florida. Everywhere you go is expensive. It's the challenge is getting insurance for your home. You got to buy a newer home. You can't buy an old home with an old roof. That's the biggest challenge in Florida. And that's where I would say if you're going to move to Florida, you're going to buy a house that's newer, or a house with a newer roof, or you're going to invest right away in a new roof. And that's what the people who bought my old house did. They immediately ripped my roof off and put a new one because I wasn't replacing it. I wasn't going to spend the 45, 50,000 on a new roof. Selling it.
That's amazing though. 45 or 50,000 for a roof. In Pennsylvania, you're talking like 10, 15,000.
Okay. That's
That's
nice.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I've gotten prices. I've
Uh,
already gotten prices, so I know.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
Uh, what about? Let me ask you a different question.
Good.
How reliable is your electricity?
Oh, very. I have no
Okay,
problem. Yeah.
you wouldn't invest in like a generator or something like that.
All my neighbors have them. So I'm like, all right, I'll plug into yours. They have these gigantic generators on the side of their houses because the community I live in, they're older and they're afraid that if the power goes out, they'll be hot or they could die in the heat or what have you. And a lot of them are very, very well off. And they're like, you know what? I'm going to put a generator for $30,000, $40,000 on the side of the house. And they do.
30, 40,000. What kind of generator is that?
They're buying gigantic generators, full house generators. Not
Sure.
the not the gas pull one. I'm talking full house generators for a
Gotcha.
3,000 square foot house. Runs the air conditioning, the refrigerators, all the electric, everything. I mean, they're buying, investing in these gigantic. I think the cheapest one I saw was 18,000.
Wow.
Yeah, the cheapest one. I think one of my neighbors got one for 18, but I've seen them as much as 30 for a generator, full home generators, and they're not cheap either. And people are buying them and they're installing them. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need one. I've got all the equipment. I got all the, I have plugs in my garage that I can just pull, bring in one of those gas generators, plug it in, outside, turn it on outside, and then, hope for the best and hope that some of the power works. I think it's plugged into the refrigerator and to some of the lighting in the house, but it doesn't do the AC. And I understand that it's a small generator, um, and I can do that. I can buy one for a few $100s and have that. But all my neighbors have generators. I have long enough extension cords that I'll reach to my next door neighbor's house and I'll plug in my fridge. I'm good. I've lived through hurricanes. It's not a big deal. People make a bigger deal than it is. It is not that big of a deal. As long as it doesn't tear up your house, it doesn't destroy anything, or nobody gets hurt, it's fine. My son was in one last week, the one in LA. There was nothing
Oh
inside.
yeah.
Yeah, just a
Well,
little
I
bit
don't
of
know. The
flooding.
Dodger Stadium was flooded out.
Yeah, right. But he got it flooding in the apartment, the Airbnb or whatever, VRBO he was living in. It got flooded the ground. They had to move his equipment above, onto the bed and on the chairs and tables. But luckily I found him a place to live. He's going to be moving this week. My wife's flying there today to go see him. So,
I would
you
think that
can't worry
part.
about those things. It's no better. It's no worse
Well,
than a snowstorm. Really, it's no worse than a snowstorm. At the end of the day, it's there for a few hours. It goes away, and then you clean up, just like a snowstorm. That's the way I equate it.
I don't know, man. I've done a lot of shoveling in my days.
I don't anymore.
Yeah, just telling you, like back-breaking shoveling.
Yeah.
Everybody there has a generator. Everybody up here has a snowblower.
Yeah, well, I had one, not anymore. 20
Yeah,
years ago,
I
I
don't think
gave it
it's
back.
gave it back. He went back to Sears and Home
Yep,
Depot and said, "Here you
yep.
go,
Sears. It was a Craftsman.
Craftsman.
I
Hey,
still
lifetime
have the gift
warranty."
card. I tried to donate it. They gave me my money back. It was a
Okay,
funny story. But you know what?
I have to get that
I
next
never,
time.
the only thing I used the gift card for was to buy my son a couple of Lakers shirts because he's a Lakers fan. So I bought him a couple of Lakers shirts in LA. And that was all I ever
Wait a
used the money
minute,
for.
wait a minute. Your son, born and raised in Florida, he's a Lakers fan.
My son was born in Long Island, New York.
What's going on here?
And I was a
You're a
Lakers
giant.
fan
You're
when I
from
was,
New York. You're a
I'm a
Giants
Lakers
fan.
fan. I'm a Giants fan, but I'm also a Lakers fan. I've been a Lakers fan since I'm a kid. You know what? I love my LA friends.
How did that happen? That doesn't make
It
sense at all.
happens. Things happen. You know,
Okay.
I moved to
That's like
Florida.
that's
I
like
moved to
that's
Florida
like
when I
me
was.
being in Philadelphia and saying I'm a
I'll tell you
Dolphins
how it
fan.
happened. I'll tell you how it happened. I moved to Florida when I was 7. There wasn't a basketball team when I was 7 in Florida.
Okay.
So I needed to catch on to something. And at the time, the
You
Lakers
had
were
the
the winning
Knicks.
team.
You had the Knicks.
Yeah, but the Knicks weren't doing as well as the Lakers back then. So,
You had the Celtics.
oh, my wife's a Celtics fan. We won't go there. My whole wife's family are Celtics and Patriots fans. We stay. They're not. They don't even let me on their group chats or anything. They've taken me off. Both my son and
Yeah,
I.
like yeah, I don't know. I might call violation on you, Jay-Z. I'm sorry. Like I know I'm from Philly. I get, it's clear, right? We
And
got
you know
all the
what?
teams.
I have
But
become a Phillies fan since my daughters
oh,
moved to Philadelphia, and
okay.
I have rooted for Philly over other teams that I like.
It'd be like me, born and raised in Philadelphia. I'm a Cowboys fan.
No, that can't happen.
I never been to Texas. I don't have any family in Texas. There's no reason for me to be a Cowboys other than Star, America's team. Nah, man, I can't do that.
Get it? I understand. Well, I'll tell you, it's okay. I have become, I'm still a Yankees fan. I am somewhat of a Giants fan, but I have been rooting for Eagles this past couple of years.
Okay.
My daughter and son-in-law has influenced me.
Okay. Who are now in Philly. I
We're
got
now
you.
in Philly. Yes.
I got you. Please, are you a Miami Heat fan? Is that your jam?
I've never been a Heat fan. I'll go to Heat
Okay.
games every so often. I've not been to many. The stadium is far away from where I live. It's an hour and a half or more. The traffic is miserable down there. And I just, was always a Lakers fan. So I stick with my Lakers for basketball.
I was gonna say maybe you could call up your buddy Fred, get some tickets. I think he has some. I would have to guess. Right?
I'll be going there soon enough. Don't you worry.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I'll be there. So,
So
speaking of
yeah,
events,
you have
make
events
sure
coming up.
I
You
got
have
Channel
events
Pro
coming
events
up.
coming. I've got Channel
Let's
Pro
hear
events.
about them.
So, anybody who's listening can go to our website, channelproforum.com, and go to one of our local events. We have one in Boston coming up on the 7th of September. I've got one in Atlanta on the 11th of October. And then our 2-day cybersecurity show, which is our newest show. We just started it this year. It's going to be our inaugural show called Channelpro Defend. It's a 2-day cybersecurity show that anyone can come to from anywhere in the country at the beautiful Pacific Palm Resort in the City of Industry outside of LA. And that's going to be in November. What day is that? November 1st and 2nd. So those are the 3 coming up this year. That's a must. I mean, if you're not going to be able to get to some of the other shows, the Channel Pro Defend show is a must for everybody to come to. They can register. I can give them a pass for free. They can come register on the website, channelproforum.com, and they can go on and register using the codes JZVIP, all caps. And all of the listeners today can get in for free at no charge. And while rooms last, we'll be giving out rooms to MSPs as long as you qualify. So, that's something I'll do for your listeners. and we're happy to share that with them. And our Boston show is coming up real soon. So that are in the Boston area, the New England, anywhere in the New England area, it's in the Newport, it's in the Newton Marriott, right outside of Boston, and then the show in Atlanta is right on the perimeter at the Emory Center area. So those are all there. Just go to the website. You can go to channelproforum.com or channelpronetwork.com and look for events on the top of the page. Click on that, and it'll take you to the event page where you can register, and JZ VIP, all one word, all caps.
I mean, he's giving it away. All you got to do is show up.
That's right. That's right. Well, I appreciate
what's
you, George.
What's your prediction for, since you're sometimes rooting for the Giants and sometimes rooting for the Eagles now? Who wins the NFC East this year, and what's your prognostication?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't think any of our teams are going to win this year.
Okay.
I don't think, I think it's going to be one of the teams that haven't won in a while. I see that,
Detroit?
No, I don't see Detroit, but I
New Orleans?
New Orleans, nah.
Vegas?
Vegas is possible. Vegas is hungry, man. They're hungry.
I mean, no offense, but in the entire history of the modern NFL, it took the Tom Brady Buccaneers to win the Super Bowl in their own stadium. And then the next year, immediately after that, it was the Rams in their brand new stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hold on a second. Never, ever, ever. And now back to back? That doesn't make sense.
It's possible, but.
So Vegas, the Super Bowl, if you didn't know, it's in Vegas this year.
Yeah, it is in Vegas. Yes.
So just saying, if this ends up being the Raiders hosting a Super Bowl in their own building, I call WWE script. That's it. I put it out there. Right. WWE script. It's right.
Listen, I'm hoping that the Giants get in the playoffs. I'm hoping the Eagles are in the playoffs. I'm hoping the Niners are in the playoffs. I gotta hope, right?
Okay. Hope. We'll see if the Niners can tape together any of their quarterbacks. That's it. They got a lot of duct tape they need over there.
Yes, they do. So,
all right.
All right. But listen, at least we got a fun season to watch. Season's coming up. We're all going to be able to watch TV on the weekends and catch highlights on Monday morning, as I usually do, somewhere at an airport. So
watch. Jay-Z is going to be one of these guys that signs up for that YouTube and direct ticket, or it used to be Direct TV. It's going to be YouTube Sunday ticket for all the games. I think you're going to sign up.
Nope.
We'll see.
I'm never home,
you may change your mind.
Time.
Well, that's why you're going to have it in your hand.
My wife drags me out when I'm home, so I never get to sit on the couch. So I'm never there to watch TV.
It's going to be when you're in the airport.
Airport. I'm watching it on the airport in the screens. They all buy it. So why should I buy it?
Okay. All right. This session was recorded. You'll find it at mspinitiative.com under sessions, guys. Check out Channelpro Network and Channelpro Forum. And if any of those events are, intriguing to you, you got a free hookup here. So take advantage. Otherwise, I would suspect, since Jay-Z's on the road 40 weeks out of the year, you're probably going to run into him somewhere anyway. And if, obviously we have the upcoming things that we mentioned at the beginning of the session. We have the MSP Community Boat Party in Fort Lauderdale, which I think is coming up later on this week. We have DattoCon in Miami coming up the first week of October, and then you have IT Nation to kind of close out the year, as usually what happens here in the US. So although I say that and there's events going into December, I digress. Thanks for tuning in. We'll keep doing these Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1:00 Eastern time. And Jay-Z, I'm sure I will see you very, very soon.
Sure you will. Thanks, George. Thanks for your time.
You got it. Have a good one, my friend.
Great chatting.
See ya.
Cheers.